Hey Hammers fans! First of all, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss any West Ham updates. Today we have a dramatic twist in the script, something few expected to happen so quickly. Graham Potter is out, and NUNO Espirito Santo takes over as head coach. The truth is that the atmosphere had already become unbearable. Since Potter's arrival, doubts multiplied. There was no identity on the pitch, his lineup choices were confusing, and substitutions rarely changed the flow of matches. In every press conference, it felt more like hearing riddles than solutions. Even his way of expressing himself seemed distant, as if he had never truly connected with the club or the fans. Many questioned why he accepted the job at that moment. After all, taking over the team with such a tough run facing Everton and Arsenal right away seemed like an invitation to disaster. And in fact, it was. West Ham looked ready to throw away crucial points without even trying to turn the tide. And that never made sense for a manager who in theory should have been fighting for every chance to prove his worth. That's why his dismissal isn't surprising. Perhaps only the speed is. Because the most common thing in West Ham's recent history has been exactly the opposite, delaying decisions, giving 3 matches to save the job, betting on illusory deadlines. The club has always been marked by hesitation, by slowness to act. This time it seems to have learned from its own mistakes and cut the problem at the root. Potter's departure exposes a bigger issue the club failed in its recent managerial choices. First with Lopetegui, who didn't fit, and then with Potter, who ended up with the worst statistics in West Ham's modern history. The fans feel this deeply. It's not just about defeats. It's about the lack of hope, about looking at the pitch and not recognizing a project. What also weighed heavily was the way Potter arrived. He accepted the position while another coach was still in place, something many considered disloyal. And now the irony closes. The same way he came in, he leaves, replaced without ceremony, watching his entire staff dismissed alongside him. The wheel turns, but it leaves scars. The lesson is clear: a club cannot build an entire recruitment plan around a manager or an assistant. The football structure must be stable above the names. When Carl Macaulay was treated as a central piece in the recruitment process, an absurd dependency was created. Now he is also gone, and with him goes an entire plan that cost dearly in time and money. This is the picture of improvisation. Because going down this season would be a tragedy, not only sporting but institutional. To be relegated while playing in this stadium with the financial pressure that would bring would mean plunging into a crisis with no return. The arrival of NUNO therefore represents a stabilizing force. He is not a definitive solution, but he could be the wall that holds the house together before everything collapses. NUNO Espirito Santo arrives bringing a very particular style, and this immediately sparks discussions about how the current squad might fit into his ideas. Throughout his career, he has shown a preference for defensively solid teams capable of reacting quickly in transitions. It's no surprise that some analysts are already drawing parallels with what we've seen in his previous work, especially when he built compact teams that were dangerous on the counterattack. Before we move on, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support keeps the Claret and Blue family united and helps make West Ham stronger every single day. Looking at West Ham, it's possible to see the material for this type of approach. On the wings, for instance, there is quality to exploit pace and depth. Jared Bowen is tireless, carries the ball at high intensity, and finishes well. Crescencio Somerville has dribbling skills, acceleration, and could be a key player to stretch the pitch. These are 2 players who resemble the kind of wingers NUNO has always valued: aggressive, direct, capable of punishing any opponent's mistake. Looking at West Ham, it's possible to see the material for this type of approach. On the wings, for instance, there is quality to exploit pace and depth. Jared Bowen is tireless, carries the ball at high intensity, and finishes well. Crescencio Somerville has dribbling skills, acceleration, and could be a key player to stretch the pitch. These are 2 players who resemble the kind of wingers NUNO has always valued: aggressive, direct, capable of punishing any opponent's mistake. In midfield, Lucas Paquetá emerges as the creative figure, the one who can act as the attacking brain, much like Morgan Gibbs-White did in another context. Alongside him, Edson Alvarez and Mateus Fernandes offer complementary traits: firm tackling, vertical passing, and the ability to arrive in advanced positions. The doubt is, who will be the trusted holding midfielder, the number 6, who dictates the defensive rhythm? Magassa has yet to convince, and Freddie Potts appears as a candidate to earn important minutes under the new manager. In defense, there is much to fix. Set-piece problems were exposed week after week. Every corner seemed like a sentence of suffering. NUNO will have to work obsessively on this aspect, as it's impossible to be competitive in the Premier League while conceding goals so repetitively. Still, there are good center-backs available. Konstantinos Mavropanos brings physical presence, and Kilman, although inconsistent, can perform in a better adjusted system. With collective discipline, the backline can transform from Achilles' heel into a foundation. The fullbacks also offer interesting options. Walker-Peters adapted quickly and showed consistency. On the other side, Emerson Palmieri combines defensive resilience with attacking support. NUNO likes fullbacks who balance their contributions, and here may lie one of the most promising sectors for the new setup. In central attack, the discussion is delicate. The youngster Marshall is pushing for space but still lacks experience. Wilson and Ings no longer offer enough mobility. Perhaps the solution is to adopt a model that doesn't depend so much on a fixed center-forward rotating Paquetá or even Bowen into more central roles. The key is to break predictability, something Potter never managed. And how does all this translate in the short term? The first big test already has a date: Monday away to Everton. The Hill Dickinson Stadium has become a fortress, and the Toffees haven't conceded there this season. It is without doubt one of the worst possible scenarios for a debut, but ironically, that might be the fuel. A draw or even a victory snatched through defensive discipline would have an enormous impact on confidence. Everton are in good form, reorganized by Moyes with a solid defense and fans beginning to dream again of European qualification. But they are also an opponent that can be surprised if forced out of their comfort zone. If NUNO can keep the game tight, frustrate the hosts, and accelerate on counterattacks, the match could become a positive starting point. Of course, no miracles can be expected after just a few days of training. What is expected is basic organization, compacting lines, reducing gaps between defense and midfield, and cutting out set-piece errors. That alone would already represent progress compared to what we saw. Add the players' work rate, and a simple strategy and perceptions can quickly change. The fans who had grown disillusioned need to see clear signs of change. They want to see intensity, discipline, and a coach giving clear instructions from the touchline. This is the kind of detail that restores confidence in the stands. And if there is anything that can make a difference in a tough stadium like Goodison Park or Hill Dickinson, it's the energy of a team showing the will to compete. The change in head coach doesn't erase the mess that has formed behind the scenes at the club. The dismissal of Graham Potter and the arrival of Nuno Espirito Santo bring an immediate dose of hope, but also raise inevitable questions. How did West Ham reach this point of improvisation without long-term planning? The truth is that the board made a sequence of mistakes. First with rushed choices that didn't hold up. Then with delays in reacting when the signs of failure were already evident. The fans see this and no longer tolerate speeches claiming that everything is under control. Since the Conference League triumph in 2023, it seemed the club had found a platform for growth. But what followed were weak Premier League campaigns, questionable decisions in the transfer market, and the feeling that there was no clear project. The protests that have once again echoed around the stadium are not just against one coach or another. They reflect years of accumulated dissatisfaction. With every defeat, with every empty interview, the flames of revolt grow. And amid this, rumors emerge of investors interested in taking over the club. Amanda Stavely and other groups continue to be mentioned behind the scenes. Fans understand that without structural change, even the work of a competent coach could be swallowed by the weight of disorganization. That's why Nuno's arrival represents something bigger than just a tactical adjustment. He becomes at this moment the symbol of a chance to reorganize the team, to restore sporting dignity, and to delay the structural crisis. But he cannot carry this weight alone. Without real support from the board, without targeted reinforcements in weak positions, and without stability in management, any project is bound to collapse. The risk of relegation still looms like a shadow, and to go down now in this new stadium with debts and long-term commitments would be a crushing blow. That's why NUNO needs to be pragmatic, save the season, secure survival, bring back a minimum of competitiveness. Afterwards, yes, think about playing style and bigger ambitions. The fans know this. They complain, they demand more, but they also understand that the moment calls for survival before any revolution. That's why Nuno's arrival represents something bigger than just a tactical adjustment. He becomes at this moment the symbol of a chance to reorganize the team, to restore sporting dignity, and to delay the structural crisis. But he cannot carry this weight alone. Without real support from the board, without targeted reinforcements in weak positions, and without stability in management, any project is bound to collapse. The risk of relegation still looms like a shadow, And to go down now in this new stadium with debts and long-term commitments would be a crushing blow. That's why NUNO needs to be pragmatic, save the season, secure survival, bring back a minimum of competitiveness. Afterwards, yes, think about playing style and bigger ambitions. The fans know this. They complain, they demand more, but they also understand that the moment calls for survival before any revolution. In the short term, attention turns to the match against Everton. It's a test that goes beyond the 90 minutes. It's about seeing whether the team already shows signs of discipline, whether previously invisible players come back to life, whether the defense stops gifting easy goals. It's about realizing that even against a strong opponent, West Ham can compete. That is the word that matters most right now, compete. In the medium term, however, the pressure on the board will not disappear. Fans will continue demanding explanations for recent choices. They will continue reminding that the club wasted time, money, and patience on managers who didn't work out. And they will continue asking for something more solid, something that projects West Ham not only as a survivor but as a contender. Ultimately, the voice of the stands remains the decisive factor. It is what sustains the club in its darkest moments, pressures complacent directors, and demands that coaches maintain intensity. Without this fuel, no change prospers. With it, even a weakened squad can surpass itself. Therefore, when stepping onto the pitch on Monday, it won't only be Nuno Espirito Santo making his debut. It will also be the fans testing their faith once more. And if the team responds even in a simple way, even with a hard-fought draw, a thread of hope will be born. It is not the solution to all problems, but it could be the first step out of the abyss. And if there is anything this club's history teaches, it's that West Ham never goes down without a fight. The battle begins again now with a new commander, but with the same dream to see the claret and blue take the place their fans deserve. And that's all for today's West Ham news. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to hit the like button, share it with fellow fans, and of course subscribe to the channel so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Come on, you irons! So that's all for today, folks. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, leave a comment, share, and of course subscribe to the channel for more. Take care, and I'll see you next time.